This video explains how to do a basic tree diagram. Tree diagrams are for two-stage questions where one thing happens and then another thing happens. I'm talking for sure, so one thing certainly happens, another thing certainly happens. So you get to the first set of traffic lights, get to the second set of traffic lights, or throw a coin, throw a dice. Now, a design has been invented for questions such as these. It's the classic double fork. So this would be for first toss of the coin, and this would be for the second toss. And this, for example, would be for a set of matches. So that's win, loss, draw, win, loss, draw, win, loss, draw, etc. Now the genius of the tree system, even though it leads to massive ridiculousness here, is that because the second stage is duplicated, because you have to write it twice, a coin toss can give heads or tails. But you don't just write heads or tails here, you also write heads or tails here. The geniusness of it is that if you write a little summary over here, you actually end up with a record of every last thing that could possibly happen. You just follow the letters along the branches, and that's how you get the summary. So this is win, 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 loss, win, win, draw. So win, win, draw, then win, loss, win, etc. Now I'm not going to be bothered drawing for this. This diagram is just to show that trees do not always have double forks, two prongs per fork, and they don't always have two stages of forking. Sometimes they have 3 prongs per fork, and they have 3 stages of forking. And there's no reason why you can't at least think a tree like this, but actually drawing the whole thing out is not recommended. Now this tree at the top shows everything that could possibly happen. The way you get the answers is by putting probabilities onto the branches. Let's pretend this coin is biased. So it's 2/3 chance of landing heads, no 1/3 chance of landing tails. Those probabilities just get read from the question. You then go to the summary and you put probabilities on the summary. They're very easy to put on. You just multiply the probabilities on the branches that led to each element of the summary. So HH comes from this branch, then this branch. So it's 2/3 times 2/3, top times top, bottom times bottom. Now a couple of little checks you should do. Make sure that when you flick from one prong to another within a fork, the probabilities add up to 1, whether it's decimals or fractions. So 0.2 and 0.8, that adds up to 1. 2/3, 1/3 add up to 1. That's also the case for these. If they record everything that could possibly happen, those figures need to add up to 1, as they do, because 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. Now, everything you need to answer the question is right here in the tree. That is why I recommend that you complete the tree for all but the most ridiculous questions like this, because everything you need, there it is. If I say, what's the probability of the coins coming out different? It's these two, so the answer would be 4/9. If I say, what's the probability of there being at least one head? It's these 3, so it's 8/9. Most answers come straight off the summary. That's not quite true. Sometimes we ask you a trick question. We might say, what's the probability of a head on the first toss? That's sitting right there, it's 2/3. Or you could just find the elements in the summary that have a head on the first toss, there they are, and add them up. So that would be 6/9, which of course is the same as 2/3. Another type of question where the answer is in the tree, not on the summary, is any question that is got this word, given. So if it says, given that the first coin lands heads, what's the probability the second does too? Well, they're just inviting you to go down that branch because it said the first coin landed heads, and then they just want you to read that figure back to them. So the answer is 2/3. If I said, what's the probability that the first coin lands tails? Sorry, it said, given the probability that the first coin lands tails, what's the probability that the second coin lands heads? They're telling you to read down this branch. But the actual question I want you to ask is, what's the probability the second coin lands heads? Well, there's the figure for the second coin landing heads. It's 2/3. So that's a basic tree you actually write. That's annoying that you would just think. For example, if I was asked, what's the probability of all games being won, then I would just imagine enough of the tree and I'd read enough information from the question to put some probabilities on. And then I would just imagine doing that. And so the answer would, I think, be 1 out of 60 for that question if they were the probabilities. Finally, I'll just give you a little example of a question where you do have to read the thing very quickly. 9 balls in a bag. 2 blue, 7 red. I pull out 2. What's the probability